Okay, so we started out on page 75. Let's continue on to page 76 here. Now, if you look up here at page 76, all right, just like we're able to, write a coordinate notation for a translation. Remember, for the warm-up today, we did a coordinate notation for the translation there. It was x, y, arrow, x plus 2, y plus 1. We're also able to do that for rotations, remember? Well, it turns out that some reflections also have unique, or not unique, but they have their own kind of rules here. So, for example, if we reflect across the x-axis, that means we're going to be taking a point x comma y, and the x stays the same, but then the y is the opposite. Okay? If we take a point, if we reflect across the y-axis, that means we'll be taking a point x comma y, and just making the x coordinate the opposite, and then the y stays the same. And then we'll also maybe do some reflections across the line y equals x, or the y equals negative x, but we'll see about that. Okay? So, let's take a look down here, and you can see an example of a reflection in the actual coordinate plane. So before, we were doing reflections kind of like in a grid here, right? But there's no like axes. There's no x-axis. There's no y-axis. So here we have a y-axis and the x-axis, and so we're actually going to have actual coordinates and things like that. You can see here that the directions, again, were to reflect the figure with the given vertices across the given line. Well, they gave us the points. They've already graphed it for us here, and then they already did the reflection over the y-axis. You can see, right, that n, reflects over here to n prime, m to m prime, and p to p prime. That's our line of reflection right there, okay? Notice that n, how far is n away from our line of reflection? It's 1 unit, right? And then n prime is also 1 unit away in the opposite direction, right? M is 1 unit away, m prime 1 unit away in the opposite direction. P is 1, 2, 3 units away, and so p prime is 1, 2, 3 units away in the opposite direction. Real easy. You can also reflect this using patty paper as well. It does, reflect over, but since it's already done for us here, we won't do that one. Okay, so that's the idea there. All right. Questions on any of that? This is pretty straightforward. So we'll look at one here then. It has us reflecting, for example B, so we got to plot these points. Let's go ahead and plot D, E, F, and G. And I'm going to try and use my pen here. So let's see here. So D has coordinates 2, 0. So go ahead and plot D, E, F, and G. Bless you. Okay, I didn't do I ended up writing through my E there, but that's okay. Okay. So now we're going to reflect this over what line? Well, it says right here we want to reflect it over the line y equals x. So it might be helpful to actually draw this line. Before, in example A, we were told to reflect it over the y-axis. The y-axis was already drawn for us, so we didn't have to really draw it in. But here the line y equals x, that is not drawn for us on the graph here. So we have to graph this line y equals x. All right, so how do we graph the line y equals x? It is in slope-intercept form here. What's the slope number? What's the number in front of the x? So what number could I put right here? A 1, right? So really this is like y equals 1 over 1, right? Because the number 1 is really the fraction 1 over 1, 2, x. And then what's our y-intercept? What's the b over here? Yeah, it's 0, so it's plus 0. Okay? So really this line is really this in more like obvious slope-intercept form there. And so our y-intercept is 0, so you can put our point, I better do this in a different color than everything else. So our y-intercept is 0, and we're going to use our slope to get more points. So that slope is telling us to go what direction to get more points here? Yeah, up 1, right 1. The rise is 1 over 1, so there's another point. Up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, so on and so forth. And so there is going to be our line of reflection. And oh man, it's going to be a hassle to get that to line up well. Okay, so go ahead and connect those dots, and that's going to be our line of reflection. So there's the line y equals x. Can you see it okay? Y-intercept is 0, and then you use the slope of 1 over 1, so you're going to go up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, and connect all those dots, and that creates our line of reflection. Okay. And now that we have that all set up, we're ready to do our reflection across the line. We've drawn our line of reflection, we have our original shape, and so now we can do your reflection. Okay? So for those of you that prefer to use mirror, you can go ahead and feel free to use the mirror. I'm going to use patty paper because I think that's more precise, especially in cases like this. And you can also just count if you want to, 2. Okay? Now, one thing I want to say, let's predict here, all right, what's going to happen, to example, for point E? Where's point E prime going to be? It's going to be the same point. And how do you know that E will transform to the exact same point when it becomes E prime? Why doesn't E move when we reflect it? Why will E not move when we reflect it here? Because it's on the line reflection. That's right, okay? If we have a point on the line reflection, it doesn't have anywhere to reflect to because it's already on the line. F, G, and D, those will reflect though. So anyway, let's reflect these here. So again, I'm going to use some patty paper. So those of you that like to use patty paper, I'll kind of talk you through it here real quick. All right, so we're going to get it all lined up here. We're going to draw the line of reflection on our patty paper. Okay, connect. Draw that line of reflection on the patty paper. Okay, like so. And then also don't forget to draw E, D, F, and G. So I got my points there. Okay. And then we flip our paper over. And we want to line it back up here. Okay, like so. And we can see there are the points. And just draw on the backs of those points once you reflect them. And they should transfer. So there's a point there, there's a point there, there's a point there, and there's a point there. And I'll do that in red so it stands out more. Whoop. Wrong one. Okay. And so we get F prime, G prime, D prime, and then there's E prime right there at the same point. Okay, there's the reflection. So our original shape started in quadrant 1, right? Our pre-image, or the original, right? Pre-image or original. That started in quadrant 1, and then what quadrant did the image reflect into? Did we change quadrants when we reflected here?
No.
Yeah, no, it's still in quadrant 1. Okay? So in this case, it's quadrant 1. Here, back up to the original, or the first one example we saw, we started out, our pre-image, or original, started out in quadrant 1, and what quadrant did it reflect into? Quadrant 2. Okay? If we took this here, if we took this shape here, the original, the pre-image, and if we reflected it over the x-axis, what quadrant would it end up in? Yeah, this would reflect into quadrant 4, exactly right. Okay, exactly right. So if we instead of reflecting over the y-axis, if we took it and reflected over the x-axis, it would reflect down into here, which is the 4th quadrant. Okay, good. All right, questions on anything so far? No questions? All right, so let's move on here to 9 and 10. I want you guys to go ahead and try, just number 9, actually. Just try number 9 there on your own, okay? So reflect those points across the x-axis. So I want you to draw both the pre-image, and then the image, please. Draw both the pre-image and the image. Let's see, 3, 4.
this on the quiz?
Mm-hmm. And then please make sure you label your points with the primes and things too. Oh, do you need tissues, Blake? All right, I can get you some here. 1 second. Any more? Patty paper? Yes, I got some over on my desk. If you want to go over it, Miss Katie's got some for you there, and I'll get some tissues out for you.
Am I opening this paper?
Yeah, we can.
Do you need some or no?
Okay.
Just waiting for it.
You have work to do. What's that? Okay, well, you still have to do the work I asked you to do, okay? Not next time, or pretend to next time.
Did you read the dinner?
You do it that way, absolutely. Yeah, exactly right. Just draw the points, I would say, and then you can connect the dots. Yep. Let's go. Yeah, draw the point, draw the original point first. Yeah, if you want to try number 10, go for it, okay? Don't feel like, you know, if you got number 9 easily, try number 10. You're going to want to grab that line of reflection first, though, okay? You're going to want to grab that line of reflection first. Okay, you try number 10 if you want, okay? It is a different line of reflection. Okay, thank you. Yeah. That was good. Okay, so most everyone, you can see, did a good job here, okay, with our reflection. That could not have fallen further away, I think. Anyway, so there it is, okay? Be careful how you name things here, right? U was right here, and so then U prime, it reflects right one away. U is 1 above the x-axis, so it will reflect to 1 below. V is 4 above the x-axis, so it reflects to 4 below. S is also 4 above, so S prime reflects 4 to below, and then 1 above, 1 below. Okay, just like that. That's your line of reflection. Okay. Over here for number 10, I know I didn't ask you to do this, but some of you guys are trying it, so I figure why not? Let's just go through it there. Let's talk about it. All right, I'm going to plot these points here real quick. So let's see here. So -4, -2 for A. B is -1, -1. C is -1, -4. And then that's it. Okay, that's a triangle. Okay, like so. Our line of reflection is y equals -x. So here, our line has a slope of what number? What's the slope of this line here? -1 over 1. So it's y equals -1 over 1x. And what's the y-intercept? Yeah, it's 0. There's no y-intercept written. And so we have 0, 0, and our slope's going to tell us to go down 1, left 1, down 1, left 1, down 1, left 1, down 1, left 1, down 1, left 1. Like, wait a minute, that's y equals positive x. What am I doing? My goodness. Down 1, right 1. There's our line of reflection. Okay, so we connect those dots. Okay, so that's our line of reflection right there. Okay, forgive me for that, guys. Yes, rise was -1, run was +1. So down 1 for the rise, but right 1 for the run. Down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. That's why the slope is like that. Okay. And so then here you can kind of eyeball it here to see how it's going to reflect, right? I mean, B is diagonally 1 box away, so I can go diagonally 1 in the opposite direction. There's where B prime has to be. Okay. C all right, is 1, 2.5 boxes away. So 1/2, 1, 2. There's where C prime is going to be. Okay. A is 1, 2, 3 boxes away. So 1 diagonal boxes of 2, 3, and there's where A prime is going to be. Its reflection. And I shouldn't have drawn it in the same color, but there I did it. Oh well. Okay. So there's reflection over the y equals negative x. Again, you can use patty paper or a mirror there, and it should still work. All right. I recommend patty paper over the mirror for this because, again, of the precision of it with the coordinates and stuff like that. All right. So there it is. Now, remember, we can also do these things in coordinate notation here. So let's take a look at that. Let's go back to our one example here on the previous page, 76. Okay, let's go back to the previous example there on page 76. And if you look right, it told us to kind of like come up with a rule here. We're going to hold off on filling in our rule right here. I don't know why they put the A. I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, so we're going to fill in the rule here in a second. Let's take a look at how this changed. So back here again on page 76, we have that D had coordinates 2, 0. But what's the coordinates of D prime? Debbie, what'd you get there? What's the coordinates for D prime in our picture here back on 76?
For D prime, that would be 0, 2.
0, 2. Okay, good. That's right. Okay, what about E prime, Debbie? What's the coordinates for E prime? 2, 2, right? It didn't move. It's the same coordinates as E. All right, what about F prime there, Debbie? What's the coordinates for F prime?
5, 2.
Careful. F was 5, 2, but F prime is 2, 5. That's right. And then what about G prime there? 1, 5. Okay, thank you, Debbie. All right, so if you look here, D, 2, 0 became D prime 0, 2. E, 2, 2 became E prime 2, 2. F, 5, 2 became F prime 2, 5. And then G, 5, 1 became G prime 1, 5. Can someone raise their hand and tell me, what's the rule here? If I have a generic point x, y, what's going to happen, Eli? Y, x, exactly right. So if you look here, what did we reflect over? We reflected over the line y equals x. And then what happened? X and y switched positions, which kind of makes sense here because it's the line y equals x. So like the y's and x's are equal. They flip. Okay, they're equal to each other. They kind of flip. And so xy becomes yx. All right, let's see what happens over here for number 9 then, for the coordinate notation here. All right, I'm going to write out my points. So I've got S, U, T, and V. Again, we're on page 77 now, looking at that last example we just did. S had coordinates 3, 4. U had coordinates -2, 1. T had coordinates 3, 1. And V had coordinates -2, 4. And we want to figure out what the coordinate notation is. X, Y, arrow, and then we want to fill in the blanks here. Okay, let's see how this is changing. Okay, so let's see here. If I look back at my transformation, S prime became the point, what, 3, -4. U prime became the point -2, -1. T prime became the point 3, -1. And V prime became the point -2, -4. All right, so take a look at that. Take a look at that right now. 3, 4 became 3, -4. -2, 1 became -2, -1. 3, 1 became 3, -1. -2, 4 became -2, -4. Okay? So let's see here. Someone's here. So Curtis, any idea here, what's happening from these 2 points? Again, 3, 4 became 3, -4. What changed? Nothing changed? The x stayed the same, right? So then we would expect our generic x coordinate to stay the same. But what did change? Yes, +4 became -4. +1 became -1. +1 became -1. +4 became -4. So what should I put here? A negative. If I have a positive y, what will this point become? Negative. again, the 4, the y-coordinate 4 became a negative 4, right? 1 became a negative 1. The y-coordinate of 1 became a negative 1 here. The y-coordinate of 4 became a negative 4. So the y-coordinate here should become then negative, not negative 1, negative y, negative y. Generic point, just a generic point there. So that's it. That's the coordinate notation right there for the reflection. All right? Now let's look at this one over here. Okay, and then we'll have just one more little thing to look at. Yep. Okay, we're almost done here, folks. So, and then we'll get you guys back onto your assignment there. So let's look at the coordinate notation for this here. All right, let's again copy these points down. So A, B, and C. A had coordinates negative 4, negative 2. B had coordinates negative 1, negative 1. And C has coordinates negative 1, negative 4. And again, we want to come up with like the x, y. What is that? Okay, what's the transformation there? So let's see, A prime, its coordinates became 2, 4. B prime, okay, its coordinates became 1, 1. And C prime, its coordinates became 4, 1. All right, so take a look at that. There is a pattern there, right? Negative 4 and negative 2 became positive 2, positive 4. Negative 1 became positive 1, positive 1. Negative 1, negative 4 became positive 4, positive 1. All right, so let's see here. I'm going to call on someone. So take a look at that pattern. All right, Cosmo, I haven't talked to you yet. So Brianna, do you have what's happening here? If I have then a generic point x, y, how is that going to change in the image? Okay, so if they were negative, they're going to become the opposite, so they're becoming positive. What else changes too? The x and the y coordinate flip, don't they? Negative 4, the number there, went over to the y coordinate. So actually the x coordinate goes here, the y coordinate goes there, and then we need to make it negative y, negative x, like that. Okay, so both the x and the y flip positions, and they're both opposite. So there's the coordinate notation there. Okay, just like that. Okay, questions there? Questions there? So again, that's something we need to be able to do, and we'll get more practice of that, in some of the days following the quiz, because we'll have our test sometime next week. Okay, probably earlier next week, like maybe Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, we'll have our test. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Test coming up next week sometime, Tuesday, Wednesday. And we need to be able to write that coordinate notation there for the transformations. Come up with that. All right. Last thing we're going to look at here, if you go down the page, on page 77, we're going to be specifying lines of reflection. That is, locating lines of reflection here. Okay, there are a lot of options. So, for example, if you're given original or pre-image and its image, you can just draw the segments, A prime, B prime, C prime. We know the line reflection goes through the midpoints of those segments. You can just find the midpoints here, the halfway points from A to A prime, from B to B prime, C to C prime, and then just connect those midpoints. That's one way to do it right there. Okay, find the midpoints and then connect the dots. Okay. Alternatively, I'm going to show you another way. All right, so let's look here for letter B. You can also do this using your patty paper. All right, so let me show you with the patty paper here. All you got to do, okay, let me kind of scratch out my previous work here. Take your patty paper and simply, okay, you want to put your tracing paper on top of it so that it covers both the original / pre-image and the image, and then just draw the points A, B, and C. Okay, so draw the points of the pre-image, and then draw the points of the image. A prime, B prime, C prime. All right. Now, how can we use our patty paper at this point to figure out where that line of reflection is going to be? What can we do here? Any ideas? I see Eli's hand. Anyone else want to try to get a shot before I call Eli? Gabe, what do you say?
Fold paper.
Fold the paper so that what happens?
Both points should come together.
Right, join the pre-image point A to its image A prime. Join the original point B to its image B prime. Join the pre-image C to its image C prime. Right, just take your paper and fold it carefully so that those points line up. So you can see here, I have B labeled. I can find B prime just right about there. I'm going to try and make sure that C lines up as well. Okay, so make sure those points line up, and then once they line up, go ahead and crease the paper. Okay, so that they fold on top of each other. So you see my points are folded on top of each other. If I move it slightly, you can kind of like, let's see here, it's hard to see. Kind of see the points are on top of each other there? So fold the paper so that the points line up, and then unfold it. Okay, and there's your line of reflection when you load it, when you kind of like put it back on there. Now the problem is, okay, our line of reflection, we need to be able to transfer it to the paper there. We need to be able to draw that line of reflection. And so what I'm going to do is once I've got my paper kind of lined up back where it belongs, like so, okay, and there's your fold line, just pick two coordinates along your fold line there. So you can put like a coordinate right there. It looks like at -2, 0, and I get another coordinate like 2, -2. Like right there. Just pick two coordinates, like that, and draw some dots there on that line of reflection. And then just flip your paper over and line those points up. Okay? And then you can just transfer the points. Alternatively, you can just like peel the paper back too. I mean, if you have your paper lined up, and you can see, all right, I need to have a point. My line of reflection goes through the point, -2, 0. I can say, okay, -2, 0, and I just put a point right there. That's fine too. You can do it that way. And then also you can, like, see that it goes through -2 there, and so I can just put a point at 2, -2, and then connect the dots. And that creates your line of reflection there. Like so. There's our line of reflection. Okay? If you want to try to use your mirror for this, you can also use the mirror. Let me get a mirror for myself here. Heads up there, Corey. Nap time is, if you're not feeling well, you can go to the nurse. Otherwise, you got to keep your head up, bud. I know you're still listening, but you got to participate too. Okay? You can also use your mirror here too if you just place your mirror so that the two triangles reflect onto each other, and then draw your line of reflection that way as well. Okay? So you can also just use your mirror so that the two triangles reflect onto each other, line them up in your book, and then that'll give you your line of reflection as well. Okay, that works too. Okay? So go ahead, try 12 and 13 there. Find those lines of reflection using either your patty paper or a mirror. Okay? Go ahead, try 12 and 13. Patty paper or a mirror. I'll come around and help once I get it done. Question, Alex?
Yeah, I don't.
You having trouble?
Yeah, I don't really understand how you. Like, I know how to do it.
You know how to do it with the paper? You don't know how to do it with the paper?
I kind of do.
Okay, well then try it. Just try it with the paper. See what happens. Okay, try with paper. See if you can do it. Again, remember you want to copy both shapes and then fold them on top of each other. That's the goal. You want to copy both shapes and fold them on top of each other. Okay, copy both shapes, fold them on top of each other. That's your line of reflection. So you want to figure out where is the line of reflection going to be that reflects ABC to the image there. Exactly right. So you can use, I would suggest you use, for example, one way you can do this is using your mirror. You place your mirror here, you can see that, see how my shape's moving around, almost line up there? There it's lined up, right? So now you can just draw using your pencil there. Just go ahead and use the mirror, like draw along the mirror line there. There you go, perfect. See, there's line reflection. Okay? just like that. It's not exactly perfect. Sometimes you have to like adjust it back a little bit, but you get the idea. Same deal here. Line it up so that the shapes, kind of match up there, and then dry line reflection. Okay, voila, there's line reflection. Okay, that's it. Okay, so what's your question? So you can also use the mirror to do this too. Okay. So. You take your mirror and you see the reflection there? Now see it's lined up. So now my mirror is right on top of that line of reflection. I'll let you do that, okay? And then do the same thing for the other shape there.
Do it have to do the zero?
Say again?
Does it have to do the zero?
You can, in this case it does. It doesn't always. In fact, this one did not go through zero, I don't think, so.
As long as the two shapes are on top of each other, and then whoever goes across it,
Yeah, you fold the paper so the two shapes line on top of each other. That line, that fold line, is your line of reflection. Okay? So, you can do, you want to use the mirror instead? You don't like using that? Okay. So, just line up on your paper there, and then copy A, B, C, and then copy A prime, B prime, C prime, and then fold the paper so that they line up to each other. I'll come and help you once you do that. Okay. I'll show you. You guys doing a favor here? You're going to draw your lines of reflection, right? Okay, yes. I'll direct this one second. So, did you use a mirror to get this one? Okay, so you can use the mirror here for this too. Again, just line your mirror up. I know. Line it up so they, you can see the other shape on the side right there. Line it up so it matches right through. Okay. Donna, you doing okay? This one's not quite, I was going to get your mirror in there. Okay, get your mirror in there, look, see how the shape is. Use the mirror to help you line up one flat. So, okay, good. So, you see, can you predict, where's the line of reflection roughly going to be? Yeah, exactly. So put your mirror out there, roughly, and then can you see the reflection there? See how it's moving around, right, shifting, stuff like that? And now, see how it's like lined up? See, not lined up right now, and then see how it's trying to like match up to the other triangle right now? So again, like there's two triangles, right? There's the reflected triangle, and then there's this one down here. So watch how I move it, and now they're lined up, right? Both of them, they should be on top of each other, right? Like the reflection and this shape right here, they should be on top of each other. See how it's all lined up? There. So now, that's your reflection. Where's the mirror? Translation for me.
Did you finish
Now,
your
this
AS2?
is name, but we'll actually form it.
Did you finish your AS2?
Good. Okay, good. You'll do me a favor here. Okay, so, where's your line of reflection here? Okay. Yeah, so where would it be, you think? Eyeballing, where would it be? Where's kind of like, no, you have the right idea there, yes. Where, yes, through it. So, take your mirror and set it up so that it does go kind of through it like that, and even gets to line up. Piper looks good, Mitch looks good, Ray, good job there. Adriana looks good, there, yeah, you see, okay. Okay.
Face lit up or like chest lit up, things like that.
Nicely done, sir. Courtney, matching you folded up okay? Okay. If you're having trouble, you can also try using the mirror here. It's actually pretty nice to do this. If you look
Really, these people, all
through
the
the
people
shape
trying to
there,
let you put in a
so
date
you see how the reflection of the triangle over here is not quite lined up, but if I move my mirror, now it's lined up, where the mirror is, that's the line of reflection.
Don't they get along?
Use your pencil and trace along the bottom there. Okay, and that'll work. Okay, folks.
Baby though.
whoops, my thing moved. There are your lines of reflection.
Oh, shoot, this is what they do.
Okay, I wanted to try 13, yes, okay? So there's your line of reflection, okay? It's helpful if you're able to kind of eyeball where that line reflection should be, and then you just kind of place your mirror in that position so you can reflect the shapes onto each other. Same thing here. Okay, patty paper also works too. Okay, and it's more precise, all right? I'll be right with you then, Curtis, so I can show you how to do the rest of it there. All right. What I'd like you guys to do then, okay, we'll stop there.